Hello everyone, how are you doing? Let me trust you're doing good. Welcome once again to today's video. Here with me, I have HP EliteBook 840 G3. I believe this is G3 or G4. Yes, this is brand new, as you can see. This is coming from the computer shop. The problem with this laptop is that it is not charging. That is what the customer says. This laptop is not charging. So we are about to check what is going on with it, whether it is something to do with the battery, whether it is something to do with the charging circuit. However, if we suspect the battery issue, since this laptop is still new, I don't think it will be necessary for us to jump into the battery. But actually, the laptop is powering on. You can see it is loading the windows. So the customer said that the charging is just stuck at a certain percentage. So we are going to see what is going on with it. So as I can see here, charging logo there. The battery is showing 35%. I don't know whether you can see it is right here. It is at 35%. When I plug in at 34, it's just reduced to 34. So let us give it some few minutes to see whether it will increase even 1%, and then we gonna discuss from there. I left charging for about 10 minutes and it drops. Actually, right now it is at 32%. Okay, so let us see what's going on inside this laptop, and then from there we'll see whether it's something we can fix or what we're gonna do about it. So let me shut it down. And then we are going to open inside and check what is actually going on inside, because bottom line, we must open. Actually, the back lid has been opened, so no screws at the back. So somebody already opened this laptop for me, which I really appreciate, because right now I would have gone through a lot of troubles and screwing the screws, a bunch of screws behind. Even though this one doesn't have a lot of them, but still it is a lot of work to do the unscrewing. So the battery seems to be good. It is in good condition. It is not swollen. So that tells me probably this battery is still in good condition. So we are not going to think about the battery. We must we must get the motherboard so that we check what's actually going on with the motherboard. And there's some few things I'd like you to understand. Whenever you have an issue, let's say display, you need to know which are the components which are responsible for the display, so that when you decide to repair, you focus on those components which are responsible for display alone. In case you have a problem to do with no power, at least you need to understand which are the components which are responsible for power in the laptop. If it is the issue to do with the charging, at least you have to understand which are the things which are responsible for charging, so that it will be easier for you to narrow down the case, and it will be easier during the diagnosis. At least you will not miss to diagnose. So for example, if we may mention, when you have an issue to do with the charging, for example this one, the first component which we normally suspect is the battery. And right now, if you can see, this battery, it seems to be in good condition. Yeah, in fact it seems it is still new. However, you can't just see the battery and then decide, this is good battery. Sometimes you find a very brand new, very clean battery, but still faulty battery. But this one, because you could see it was having some voltages, it was applying power for this motherboard. Even when not plugged in, the laptop was still powering on. That tells you this battery is still good. This battery is still good. And then from there, the next component which is also responsible for charging is the power port. The power port. That is the next thing you need to. And I can see the power port seems to be intact. However, we cannot just say it is good before we have the motherboard on the bench and then analyze what is wrong with the port. And then here you can see there are some signs of corrosion, or what is this? There's some whitish substances here, which I think they are corrosion. Yes, even below here I can see there's some signs of whitish things here, which I think also is a corrosion. Anyway, we are going to open inside and then check actually what's going. I don't want to look for a shortcut. Let us just disassemble this and then have the motherboard on the bench. Do you see what I told you is, I think I can see things like corrosion. This circuit is having some whitish substance, and this is the charging circuit. Can you see this? These are corrosion, and I believe this affects the other side because this is an inductor for the charging. The port also is having some corrosion. Anyway, let us have the motherboard fully on the bench. So the motherboard is out. As you can see, even the casing, there's some whitish substance there. I don't know which kind of spillage is that. And then boom, we have the corrosion on the motherboard, the charging circuit, because there's charging IC. You can see these components around there are having some issues. This is a diode, which I believe it is for charging. It's almost, I know you're wondering why am I saying this one is for charging, that one is for charging. You know, under charging circuit, we have so many components. So under there we have so many components, you see. At least this is the things which you can see, physical damage. So we are going to clean it up there and then check what you can do about it. And then apart from that, there are some few things I like to mention. Not only helpful to this motherboard, it is also very important for any other case of charging. You can see the corrosion. I don't know how comes this laptop can power on with this kind of damages. There's some few things I'd like to mention before we proceed. Any motherboard with the issue of charging problem, I like to show you a diagram which will help you to diagnose any motherboard. It doesn't matter the model of the laptop or the model of the motherboard. So long as it is about charging, there are some very important things you need to put into consideration. Number one, make sure you don't have a problem with the port. Make sure you don't have a problem with the port. Number two, make sure the MOSFET 1. MOSFET 1 is not sure that the MOSFET 1 is this component. So this is switch number 1. MOSFET 2 charging IC. We have this PR1, this PR1 resistor. And then under the charging IC, also need to make sure these components around the charging ICs are functioning perfectly. It should not have any kind of corrosion or any blown out component. And then number 3, or number 5 rather, I don't know which number is that, or the next thing you need to consider are these two MOSFETs. These two MOSFETs are called the charging MOSFET. Another one is charging, another one is checking the power filtering. Let me share the screen to show you a very simple component which will help you to understand that. So this is my screen. As you can see, this diagram, these are representation of a charging circuit. So this representation, as you can see, the charger or the power comes through this port, whereby you supply the power. It will be received by MOSFET 1. So this is MOSFET 1, and then this is MOSFET 2. And then apart from MOSFET 1, MOSFET 2, we also have an IC here. This IC is what's called the charging IC. And this IC is responsible for making sure the voltage is flowing all the way from the input of this MOSFET to the output. Make sure the power is flowing from the input of this to the other one. It is responsible for switching this power. That's why you can see there's some signal lines going towards these switches. One of the signals here, you have the AC in, because this one should AC detect. And then you have another one which is saying AC in. So it must recognize the AC adapter which you plugged in, and it must confirm it is a good adapter, and then it will allow it to charge the system, or it will allow it to release power to the motherboard. And then when I mentioned about the PR1 should be perfect, so this is the PR resistor 1. This one should be functional because we need it to give the report, to give the information about the power coming in from the MOSFET 2, and then it should also give an information about the power going into the motherboard past that line. Those communication is passed through these communication lines. For example, we have SSP. This is a current sense signal positive, and then we have current sense signal negative. That's why CSSP is signal positive, CSSN is current sense signal negative. So this one registers the current coming in that resistor, and then this one confirm the current going out of that resistor. So this is the current negative because it is going out, current positive because it's coming in. So without these signals, without the CSSB and CSSN, this IC will not be able to control the voltage or the current coming in and out of this MOSFET 1, MOSFET 2. And it will be very hard for these MOSFETs to be controlled. Yes, you'll find that there will be some issues. There will be judging problems because these signals, this information must be received by this IC so that this IC is able to coordinate the voltage flow. Another thing I like you to understand about this IC, as you can see, it has a signal line which does what, which do what's called the battery drive, and it will also connect the battery. So there's some voltages coming in. It also controls the power coming from the battery. So if power is not plugged in from the charger, the power should be controlled from the battery, because if there is no power coming in through this line, there will be power being supplied by the battery, and it needs to be allowed to pass through this current resistor, through this MOSFET, and then to be sent into the motherboard. And that is the responsibility of this IC. So when I say make sure this IC is functional, because this IC is responsible for power management within the system. That's why sometimes it's called the power management chip. We have so many power management chips within the motherboard, but this is one of the management chip which is responsible for the charging and the input power line. Apart from this charging IC, we also have another very important IC, this one called the SIO. This is a system input output. This is a chip which is very special. It is very special in such a way that it manages the power in the entire motherboard. However, it doesn't manage the power directly, but it manages the power by sending out the control signals to the power management ICs. As you can see, out and in of these ICs, we have the blue lines. So these blue lines, as you can see, even this one, for example, can you see this blue line going out of this IC? This is a very big IC, which I believe I'll show you right now in the motherboard. So this one, you can see this line is going to the ICH. ICH is a chipset within the CPU, which is input control app. It controls it makes sure all the input components are functional, including the battery. You know, the battery is one of the input components, the keyboard, the USB port, the speakers, all of those, the fan. So this SIO, system input output, that's why it is responsible for all the inputs and all the outputs. Also, you can see it is having the charging LED. Apart from that, it's also responsible for the switching. And now you can see the SIO is send out the signals towards this one. Because without this one, this IC cannot work, because it also depends on this one to get enabled. So this one sends the enabling signals to this charging IC, and then once this one have enabling signals, it will now start controlling these MOSFETs in whichever way it needed to be. Apart from that, as you can see, we have a signal which is being confirmed by this charging IC SIO. It is confirming that the AC adapter is good, and then this one should allow the usability of that charger in the system. And then apart from that, you can see also the same SIO is also having some communication with the battery. Can you see directly from this SIO we have the line? These are the data line. This is SM data and then SM clock. This SM clock confirms the marriage between the battery and the system. We have also another line which manages the temperature. That is why sometimes you find the laptops telling you we have critical temperature in your system. Or sometimes we see the communication here below the, you can see when I put my cursor near to the battery, we can see the battery status 61% available plugged in. So those communications are done by this SIO, because it is reading some information from the BMS, that is the battery management system within the battery. No, So, as I was saying, when you're dealing with the charging, you must confirm these components are functional. Number one, the port. Number two, MOSFET one. Number three, MOSFET two. Number three is MOSFET two. Number four is the PR1. Number five is the charging IC. Number six are these two special MOSFETs. So these are two MOSFETs. We have a MOSFET which is the low side MOSFET, and then we have MOSFET which is the high side MOSFET for charging. In case you have a problem with these two MOSFETs, the battery will not charge. As you can see, this one, it has been indicated the battery not charging. That is when you have an issue with these two MOSFET. That is MOSFET 3 and MOSFET 4. Because you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what about when you have a problem with MOSFET 5? Because we have MOSFET 5 also here. So this MOSFET 5, this one is not for charging. However, it allows the voltage from the battery to be sent into the motherboard. So whenever you have a problem with this, meaning the power coming from the battery cannot go beyond here. And that tells you the laptop will not power on with the battery alone, because you can see the voltage cannot be allowed to go past this, because this one is not switching any power. And in that case, when you have a system whereby when you unplug the charger, the laptop dies, because probably you could be having a problem with this MOSFET. Not only that, this one also could be an issue. You know, if this one is partially dead, it will mean sometime you might find that it only allows power coming from here, but it is not able to control this other line. Or if these ones are having the issues, meaning even the system also will not release power from the other side there. So whenever you have problems with these components from this other side, the laptop will only work on the charger. Same case applies to the other side. Whenever you have an issue among these lines, maybe the port, the MOSFET 1, MOSFET 2, that means the power cannot go beyond this line, but the laptop will only work on this from the power from the battery. And in that case, you will find that the laptop even might not be able to charge. For example, in our case, this laptop works on the battery, but when you plug in the charger, it shows that the laptop is charging, but there is no any voltage increase. So it means the power from this other side, the charging signal from this other side is having some issues. So right now, our suspect could be maybe MOSFET 1, port, MOSFET 2, even the charging IC itself. And when I say the charging IC, it doesn't necessarily mean the only IC could be the issue. You could also find the components around these ICs having the problems. And then we could also be having a problem with these two MOSFETs. But we don't have an issue with this resistor and then this MOSFET. Why? Because at least the laptop powers on with the battery alone, meaning the power is able to move to the other side. Because I didn't insert the charger alone to see whether the laptop will power on with charger alone. I believe it will, because we were able to see that the laptop was plugged in. Now, let me hope at least you're understanding something a little bit. It's not a must that you understand everything, but at least just pick something small. In fact, in this diagram, just make sure you're getting something small. So, and us to go back and then deal with the situation at hand. These other discussions can wait. Having done a lot of tutorials, so let us now focus on the problem at hand. Right now, you can see we have a problem with here. So we have corrosions here. And I believe these corrosions, especially these ones, are the ones which make this laptop not to charge, because you can see this one is serving this BQ, this is a charging IC. And then apart from that, we could also be having a problem with this other line here from the bag. So what do we do? What is the remedy for this problem? What do you think is the solution for this? Yes, the solution for this is for us to clean. We are going to clean that motherboard. Let me just have the RAMs out first, because cleaning involves using water or involves using liquid. There's something else I don't want to forget. You know, when you have and since somebody also programmed the BIOS for this laptop, there's something I like to mention. When you have a motherboard with the spillage problem, the solution for that is to clean the motherboard. Sometimes even we clean with water, Not even sometime, most of the time, again, it depends on which spillage you're dealing with. It depends on the spillage you're dealing with. When you have a sugary spillage, for example, if it is soda, if it is alcohol, if it is what, those sugary spillage, the solution for that is to use water. You clean with water and then dry using hot air. And then when you have a spillage, maybe what, some other spillage we clean using the home dry, alcohol, soap, you see. But most of the time we do use water. Most of the time we do use water. Just make sure after you clean, you make sure it is dry. It should be dried. Yes. So let us clean this one and then check whether it will charge or not. So what I'm using right now is just a normal soap. Just a normal soap. So as I was saying, I don't know how this one was working with this kind of spillage all over, because you can see we have some spillage here next to the CPU, and the laptop was still powering on with no problem. Now and then there is something here I found. I'm going to show you. Let me just clean it first, and then we are going to discuss. Because right now I'm seeing an issue there. After I clean it, I can see there's a problem somewhere here, and I believe that could be the main reason why this laptop is not charging. That could be the main reason why this laptop is not charging. Sometimes you find a corrosion corrodes a track. We need to have a continuous track. So sometimes you find the corrosion is has eaten into the circuit track, and then there is no continuous line, and then the laptop is not able to do what, to pass some signals or power. The power is not able to flow continuously. I believe it is clean. So let me dry first, and then after we do the drying, I am going to discuss with you something I just found. We try with hot air. Let me just use the 350. That air should be max. We always need a very maximum air because we need to blow. We need to blow any spillage, any water or any liquid. This diode is madly corroded. Let me reploy it a little bit because it is corroded a lot. I don't want to replace it at the moment. Maybe if I need to replace it later, because it seems like it is still working. Now, I believe it is dry enough. There's something I'd like to show you here at the back. You can see this place, there was some corrosion here. And on top of the corrosion, after cleaning, you can see this, there's some holes here, corroded tracks. That means this corroded track, this line should be continuous this way. And you can see this one is coming from below this resistor. So this is the resistor which allows the power from the battery. It allows the power from the battery to be sent into the motherboard. And then those two lines below this one are going this way. And then you can see here there's been separated from this particular point. And it was supposed to go here. And then there's some fierce here. These fierce, it shows that these dots went to the back. And directly at the back, it comes through to these components. And these components which are here are also the components for the charging IC. That means those lines which are broken from the other side are also responsible for charging, because you can see it is coming to this charging IC. So what you're going to do, at least we need to refill those lines so that we have this line to be continuous. And then from there, I believe the laptop should be able to work without any problem. Should be able to work without any problem. So just give me a few minutes. I'll have to scratch that track where it is corroded. These lines are too close to each other, so I need to be very careful so that I do not have two lines joining because they are parallel lines. They're not supposed to join each other. That's why this scratching needs extreme caution. And actually, the two tracks were broken. Can you see this track was supposed to go continuously, and then you can see there's a hole here, which means they broke this line. Then same case applies to the other one. So I'll have to have a wire joining this point to the other, and then here to the other. So I'll need to separate parallel lines. To do that, I'll have to apply some solder base there. Once I have the solder base, I'll need the soldering iron. There's a soldering iron, and then let me just smear with the solder there. And we add the solder. After I'm done, I'll show you what just happened. I'll need looping wire, and the looping wire I'm going to use, we have what's called I like using this one. This is what's called the what? This one is for the CMOS battery. Among the CMOS battery, I normally have these wires. So I'll peel off one of them, and then inside there, I'll get very tiny one. I'll get tiny wire inside. That's what I'm going to use to loop because I like them because they're strong. They can bend with ease. They're best. They're the best wires which I can use for looping. Sometimes I don't know where I can get one. I do always have what's called the looping wires somewhere. Maybe I have here. Okay, anyway, I just got the one for the CMOS. Apart from this one for the CMOS, which is already built, so I can't use that. This one which I let's see whether I have it here. I do always have some looping wire somewhere, but I can't get one. I don't know where I placed them. I have a very small piece. I think I can't use them. You see, I have a tiny one here. So this one, I get them from the fan. You need to get the motor of a spoil fan from the laptop. Yes, you need to get the spoil fan and then remove one of the motors. Inside the motor, you will get some wire, some coil inside. That wire from the fan is the best for looping. This is the best for looping. That's why I normally like them. I need to scratch a little bit so that I can have the coated layer out, and then I'll have to apply some solder to make it conductive. So this one is the best. This one's the best when you want to loop a tiny lines. But when you want to loop a very heavy lines for the power, especially the power which carries 19, I will advise you to use the wire from the CMOS battery. Just have to peel off the wire from the CMOS battery and then get one tiny piece. You have to get like this one. Yeah, can you see this? Yes, you can have these wires here. You can have one of them, and then you use to look what I align which carries the main voltages. That's the looping wire is ready to be used. You see, once you peel off the looping wire, when you apply the solder, it is very easy for it to get the solder. And now the wire is not coated anymore, and it is best for us to use it in that line. Now it's now time to loop wire from the other side to the other side. One line is done. Here's my scalpel. Disappeared. Yeah, it's good. I don't know whether you can see. Can you see these two parallel lines? This one and this one. Should be that way. So let me just put the UV mask first. Let me verify. We should have to 126. Should be 126 resistance. Ah, that sounds good. That's good. Let me just put the UV mask. Here is the UV circuit soldering mask. This one will help that line to heal. It will help that part to heal because it was a broken track, and we put the un we put not insulated whatever we put there is not insulated, so we need to heal it. So this is good. UV curing solder mask. Whenever you loop somewhere, whenever you have some uninsulated wires going through somewhere which were not supposed to be there, you have to mask it. You must mask it. Now it is masked. So let me just cool it down a little bit for it to immediate you feel it. Don't tell me that I don't know where I placed it. I don't know whether we did a good job. Next thing to do is to do the testing. Whether the laptop is charging, whether the laptop is so we can do it. Motherboard on the bench. Plug in the charger. However, I can hear clicking with the port. I believe the port also is having some issues. Don't worry about the laptop not powering. I believe it's because we have the CMOS connected. Let me just remove the CMOS so that the laptop will power on. Plugged in, and the laptop is powering on. That's the good news. And then from there, I want to see that the laptop is charging. Without connecting it into the screen, we want to check whether it is charging. Connected. The next thing to do is to have a meter, voltage mode, and then from there, the fan is spinning. I like us to check the voltage whether it is rising. We want to see the voltage is rising. I need the positive terminal, and then I need the ground. 11.56. We need the voltage to rise. Actually, by now we should have risen. There's something else I like to check first before we proceed. We need at the gate of MOSFET 1, we'll need the 25 voltage. Same case applies to the gate of MOSFET 2. So this is the MOSFET 1, so the gate is this side. 25, you can see 25.6, which is good. And then same case applies to the gate of this one also. 25.62, which is perfectly good. 12, which is good. Now, why is it not charging? Let us see again. We need the positive and the negative terminal. Here is the positive, and then you can get any ground. Oh, 12.6364. We need to verify first before we close it up. We need to see that the voltages are rising. 65. So right now is at 12.65. So let us give it some few minutes and then we test again whether it has gone beyond there. Then we will know whether it is charging normally or whether we have some other problems. Oh, we've waited like 7 minutes, so let us see whether we have voltage increase. Still at 12.6564. Then we said here we need that the 25. Why? We have 25 voltage here, the gate, and then it is not charging. Why? 25, yeah? 25. Okay, I don't know now what's going on. What is not happening? Okay, maybe that corrosion affects some part. So let us measure those MOSFETs because we haven't even measured whether those MOSFETs are shorted. You know, sometimes even the corrosion will cause a short in the motherboards, the MOSFET. So let us measure these MOSFETs whether they are shorted or not. Start with this one charging. And I've shown you the diagram. These components are very important. You need to make sure all of them are working perfectly. MOSFET 2, MOSFET 3. I had an issue to do with the port. This port was having some issues. It is clicking. Whenever you touch it, it is clicking. And I think I have a very brand new port here. This one. So let us change that port. Let us change this port. You know, sometimes port also could be another factor which can cause the laptop not to charge. So I've changed the port. Let us now retest again whether it is charging now or not. If not, we are going to do something else until it is charging. We are going nowhere until this laptop charges. Plugged in the battery. Needs to plug in the charger. Charger plugged in. Voltage mode because we want to test the voltage. And then from there, we need to see the positive and the negative terminal. 11.94, 97, 12, 14, 17. Do you see how it is rising up? 54, 55, 56, 57, 58. And now you can see even the rate it is rising up is high. You can't compare with the previous one. So this one tells you it is charging. 60, 61. This one is good. So let me assemble it and then we come back while checking the voltage percentage, how it is rising. Yes. Give me a few minutes to do the assembling and then we test again the display, the charging on the screen. So we finished closing it up. So let us see how is it charging. How beautiful it is. Remember, we had discharged until it has reached what? It was 32%. Though we charged when you were testing the motherboard alone. Let me just open it so that you can see whether you have any charging. Whether you see the percentages. We want to see the percentages here. Now it is at 38%. Remember we had discharged earlier until it reaches 32. Can you see the percentage here? I don't know whether you can see it. It is at 38%. Let us give it a few minutes. We see whether it will reach something like 40, 39%. You see, within this little span, it has increased the percentage. Let us wait for it to at least reach 40, 41, 42, somewhere there, and then we call it a day. Otherwise, the problem is fixed. This issue, it was to do with the spillage, Other than that, we also discussed what you need to check whenever you're dealing you're dealing with the charging issue. And then after the spillage, after we cleaned it, we found that some tracks were corroded. We rebuilt those tracks, and then later on, we found that the laptop was charging at a very low rate. And then I found out the port was shutting out still, so we had to replace the port again. At the 40%, you see, the laptop is charging. You see, we are at 40% right now, and we came all the way from 32%. Thank you so much, guys. Let me hope you learned something, and I'll really appreciate if you subscribe to our channel, share to your friends, give us some comments, and we will appreciate. We do laptop repairs in case you are having an issue with a laptop. In case you know somebody who is experiencing a problem, you can also refer them to us. We also teach laptop repairs. If you're interested, you can join our classes. Bye bye, guys. Do not forget to subscribe and see you in the next video. Goodbye.